Another 5 stars. It's my cup of tea. Another 5 stars. Better late than never. It's that time again. Raise your hand if you had an amazing reading month. It's only been 4 months of the year so far, and I've already reached the 30 book mark, which may not seem like a lot compared to other book creators, but I only read 22 books in 2024. So anything past 22 is a major win on my end. Fair warning, I did hand out 5 stars like candy this past month. Before I get started in individual books and reviews and ratings, I'm gonna go over a little bit of stats. I finished 10 books in April. This is the first month where we reached double digits. I'm very proud of myself. I did think that I was going to finish another one before April 30th, but I finished it on May 1st, so I will talk about that book at the end of the month. If you know me, you already know most of these books are fantasy, but I do have a couple romance only. I am broadening my horizons a little bit. I'm gonna get into the first book, which is Sky Shade. I actually finished this, I think, on the 1st or 2nd of April, and I was going to include it in my March wrap up, but I decided not to cheat, so I finished it in April. I gave this one 5 stars. Surprising. I actually rated Lightlark 5 stars and Nightbane, whatever the second book is called, 4.5 stars, and then Sky Shade 5 stars. And there's supposed to be another Lightlark book coming out this year, I think, along with the Grimm and Oro book, which I've already pre-ordered. For me, I feel like a lot of the book I was kind of... Oh, I just saw a spider on my ceiling. We're gonna ignore that. Oh, I can't ignore that. Okay, if you see me staring off into the distance, it's because there's a spider above my bed, and I don't do bugs. Sky Shade, while it was 5 stars, I feel like the beginning was kind of... It was hard for me to catch on, probably because I hadn't read anything in the series for like 8 months, and I wanted to reread the first 2 books, but I literally just could not bring myself to do it before I read Sky Shade. And I did borrow the Kindle edition from Libby. I also bought the physical book, but I read it on Libby, and I needed to kind of hurry that up. Side note, I'm the type of person who requests like a lot of books from Libby, and then waits until there's like a week left of the term to panic read a lot of them. And I'm blaming that for the reason why I neglected my TBR, because I did have a lot of Libby books that I read this month. Well, kind of. Sky Shade ended on a really big cliffhanger. Alex, why did you do that to me? I will be sending my therapy bill directly to you, so please keep an eye on your PO box. Anyways, next book. Wings of Starlight by Allison Saft. Another 5 stars. Surprising? No. I've talked about this book a lot. Very nostalgic for me. I grew up on the Pixie Hollow movies, like to the point where I was insufferable. I always talked about being like an even mix between Silver Mist and Vidya. And now, after reading this book, I kind of want to collect all of the original Pixie Hollow children's books. Will I actually do it? I'm not sure, but I think that would be really cute to have, you know, just around, especially if I decide to have children in the future. They have access to stuff that I had in my childhood. Wait, where did the spider go? Aren't we in a pickle? Usually my husband is in charge of killing the bugs in my house, but he's gonna be at work for another 8 hours. So, smiling through the pain. It's like on my tapestry, and then it disappeared. I might cry. But as I was saying, Wings of Starlight, I feel that I talked about it. I did talk about it. I talked about it in my reading vlog that I posted. And it's moving. I talked about it in my reading vlog, and I very much was emotional. during that read. There's a line in there that really sticks with me. If you don't know anything about Lord Mallory and Queen Clarion's love story, and you don't want it spoiled, fast forward like 30 seconds. I'll wait. There's a line at the end of the book that sticks with me where Queen Clarion is staring into the winter woods, and she says that the longing will stick with her forever, and I damn near cried because that's like the last line of the book. And yeah, I cried that night. I sure did. 5 stars though. Next book. This one is very near and dear to my heart because this is the first 6-star book of the year. Do I think it's going to be the last? No, by any means. No, I think there's going to be several books that I read this year that are going to be 6 stars. This one, however, that one like right here hit me. I actually got the UK version from Blackwell's during a little order that I placed. Not that you would know at all, but I did just take a brief intermission. By brief, I mean it's been about 20 minutes to take care of that spider, and it was very scary. Just to give you a little idea of what I had to do, the only thing that I had to arm myself with was a spray bottle of spot remover for my carpet and a t-shirt. So I laid a blanket over my desk, waited for the spider to crawl on the ceiling over my desk, sprayed the spider with the spot remover, let it fall. It climbed onto my computer monitor, and I put my hand in the t-shirt, grabbed the spider, wrapped the t-shirt around itself, ran downstairs, and threw it into the backyard. The whole t-shirt. I did take a broom and kind of poke it around and see if a spider would run out. I never saw a body. I'm hoping and praying that it's just like in there still, but now I have goosebumps because I'm like anxious that I didn't actually grab the spider and it's still in here, but I'm just gonna pretend like it didn't happen. It was a very small one, well, about the size of my thumbnail. It was brown. So back to the book we were talking about. Our Infinite Fates is a beautiful, tragic love story between Arden and Evelyn. And I am so happy I decided to pick it up. The way that I actually came across it was I was in my local indie bookstore, and I saw Our Infinite Fates as a new release, but I thought the cover was kind of ugly, so I went and bought the UK version, the one that looks like this. I loved that we got so many different perspectives from the different lifetimes that Arden and Evelyn lived. I loved seeing them fall in love over and over and over again. I loved the ending. I loved how everything turned out. If you have not picked up this book, I highly recommend it. This one also made me shed a few tears, especially when I got to the part where it describes their origin. The next one that I read was yet another 5-star. It's The Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the book 2 of the Crimson Moth duology. It is a love story between a witch hunter and a witch vigilante, I guess you could say. In the first book, we are introduced to Rune and Gideon. Gideon is the captain of the Blood Guard, which are the witch hunters, and Rune is the Crimson Moth. She's a witch who saves other witches because they live in a society where being a witch is essentially just means you're dead meat. The second that you become a witch and are found out, you will be executed. And witch sympathizers are, I think, they're publicly humiliated and or marked in a way that everybody else can see that you were a witch sympathizer. I can't really talk about the events that happen in book 2 because it kind of would spoil book 1. But if you loved book 1, you're gonna love book 2. I thought it was the perfect ending. I did kind of get pissed off with the bantering a little bit. I feel like they kind of went from 0 to 100 really quickly. But I feel that kind of happens when you have a duology because there's just start and finish. and not too much in between. It was still 5 stars though, and I will not be amending that. The next book I finished is Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. This one, another 5 stars. This is the second book following Phantasma. If you've read Phantasma, we are following Ophelia's sister, Genevieve, and Genevieve is like kind of trying to find her place in the world because her sister is a necromancer and Genevieve was not given the same abilities and gift as her sister. Genevieve is trying to figure out her place. She stumbles upon a house slash kind of games called Enchantra, and I think that's all that I can really say without spoiling it. We have a bit of like enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience, forced proximity type of situation here. It is spicy. I thought it was, I mean, obviously great because I rated it 5 stars. And I heard there's supposed to be another book in this series. I don't know who we would follow because there's just 2 sisters, unless we get like their mom's story or something. I could see that. I read this and finished it the same day that it was released. So, and it was 448 pages long and I read it in one sitting. I thought it was pretty good. People always say that they're tired of games and trials. I will never get tired of it. I grew up on the Hunger Games and the Maze Runner and Divergent. Games and trials are my bread and butter. That's my cup of tea. The next book I finished is Small Favors by Erin Craig. Erin Craig is a YA gothic kind of reteller type of author. I will never shut up about my favorite duology, House of Salt and Sorrow and House of Roots and Ruins. I say duology, but it is a series. There are going to be more books coming out, and House of Salt and Sorrows is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, which is so unique. I grew up on the Barbie version of that story and I had never seen another adaptation, but it is very eerie, follows another sister, and the third book is also supposed to follow a third sister. But Small Favors is kind of like a loose retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, but throw in like small town, monster in the woods, crop circles, tricksters, and bees. Erin Craig is one of my favorite authors. I actually attempted to win a copy of her upcoming book, A Land So Wide, and I unfortunately did not get a copy. I'm a little disappointed by that, but I will still be purchasing it when it releases anyway, so maybe her next book. I do feel like you have to be a fan or be open to gothic horror to have like a true appreciation for Erin Craig's stories. She's a phenomenal writer. Her stories are so immersive and descriptive and I love it, and I will probably reread this again before the end of the year. So that is all of my 5-star reads. I'm gonna now get into the last, I think, 4 books that I read this past month, and they are not 5 stars, but they were still good. I would still recommend them. Might not reread them, but I had a good time. This next book is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This one is a contemporary romance. Not fantasy at all. This one follows Win and Bo, who have a one-night stand, and Win finds out she's pregnant. They are then navigating this entire journey together, and all of the ups and downs, pros and cons, good and bad stuff that come with their relationship and the decision of co-parenting and such. This one, I also feel like, I can't really say too much about them because I don't want to ruin the reading experience for anybody who decides to pick this book up. I rated it very highly. It was almost a 5-star, but I feel like the entire time I was waiting for something bad to happen, and I don't know if that just says something about me as a reader, but the whole time I was just like white knuckling the book waiting for something bad to happen, and the bad thing that I thought was going to happen did not happen. So that kind of took my attention away from the story a bit. But overall, I thought it was a wonderful story. I actually immediately put in a hold for 3 more of her books. So I will be reading those this month, hopefully. This next one I actually found through TikTok. I don't hear anyone talking about it, even though it kind of threw me for a loop. It It is a novella. I saw the author's TikTok specifically about this book. It was only 122 pages long. It is a sci-fi space horror romance. Think like aliens, but not like tentacle aliens, more like celestial being kind of aliens, but just like one, but also like, I don't know how to describe it. His name is Dorian Gray, and he did steal that from the book, whatever book that comes from that I can't think of at this moment. But our FMC is a astronaut. She's in space on a space mission to discover and try and communicate with extraterrestrial life. And she finds out, like, she wakes up from her sleeper pod and her entire crew's dead. So she puts out a distress signal, and Dorian Gray responds. This is the name that he chose for himself when he reads the like welcome package that us humans have created for him. And he decides that that's the name he's going to choose because his alien name is too hard to pronounce. And this is the kind that's like, it's a short story. It messes with your head. There is a romance between Dorian and our FMC. And then there's like a really big twist at the end that completely threw me for a loop. I rated this 4.5 stars. It was a great experience. The only thing that was missing for me is I wish it was longer. It's the only thing, because it's a novella. It's one of those things where just like, it is the perfect amount of frustration that leaves you wanting more from the book. This author is definitely making her way on my auto buy list. I'm definitely gonna have to read a couple more of her books before I'm like for sure, yes, this is auto buy. But just based on the vibes I'm getting so far, it's up there. The next book I finished is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I forgot how much I missed the Shadowhunter world. I've spoken about this before, but in middle school, I binged the 6-book Mortal Instruments series, and I ate it up. I kind of thought that I was going to reread the series. I did reread City of Bones last year, but I just decided not to because I didn't feel like it. So I just went right into the Infernal Devices. Like, I was a huge Shadowhunter fan growing up, but I've never read any of the other books in the Shadowhunter universe. Better late than never. This series is based in London. We follow Will Herondale and Tessa. I keep wanting to say Tessie Grimm because that's from Phantasma and Enchantra. But Tessa, whatever her last name is. There wasn't much romance at all in the first book. So if that is like your leading motivation for picking up a book, you may not like the first book very much. It is very heavy on building the world and the setting the scene and everything. If you were a heavy Shadowhunter fan, you're definitely gonna like this book because it is vastly different from the Mortal Instruments series, but it is bringing the same vibes. I'm pretty sure we are in the 1800s. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 90% sure this is like late 1800s setting. We of course have our fan favorite Magnus Bane and a lot of the same families that you will recognize if you've read the series all the way through. I really don't have like too many thoughts about this book because I feel that I'm very biased. I'm going to continue the series regardless, and I can't really say too much about plot because I mean, I feel like the plot is the main point of the book. We're having to deal with basically downworlders against the Clave. Of course, the Shadowhunters in the book are not of age yet, so they cannot fight on the Clave's behalf, but they still do. I don't really remember how old Clary and Jace were in the Mortal Instruments, but it's kind of giving like 16, 17. They're all 17 going on 18. This one was kind of longer. It was almost 500 pages, but I am very excited to see where the next 2 books take us. I'm purely reading this because I'm a Shadowhunter fan, not necessarily because the plot itself interests me, but I hope that changes in book 2. And the very last book I'm going to be talking about that I finished in April is another Alex Astor book. It is Summer in the City, another contemporary romance. I rated this one a 3.75. I did enjoy it, and I would have rated it higher, but our FMCL kind of pissed me off. I didn't like her character very much. So I kind of just like pretended that it was me, and that helped. I felt like her character was kind of like, I don't want to say basic, but she was just kind of uninteresting. She didn't really stick out as anything. She wasn't spectacular. I loved the story, just didn't like Elle. She was like heavy on the like, oh, my body looks perfect and I don't exercise and I only ever eat cupcakes and stuff. I'm just, it's giving, it was, she was giving like kind of like pick me, but like also she was a shut-in. So if I loved the FMC, this would have been like probably a 4.75. But I just loved the plot so much, I could not, like, this was my middle ground. That was the only note that I had for this story. I am pretty new in the contemporary romance world though, so that could be my bias. I do love Alex Astor's fantasy, like the Lightlark Saga. That's just my opinion. So those are the 10 books that I finished in April. I thought I had an amazing reading month. Had a good time with all of these, and I'm hoping that we also have an amazing reading month in May. I've already finished Legendborn, and I just started Powerless. I was listening to the audio while I was cleaning today, and I think I'm gonna binge that series this month. You can see that I have all of my TBR picks right on top here, and I know that I did really bad this month in terms of finishing my TBR. I have no excuses. I blame it on Libby, and I blame it on my anticipated releases. But you know what? That's okay, because our TBR is still here. Everything that I didn't finish is just back on the TBR cart. We'll eventually get to them, hopefully. I'm not super stressed about getting my TBR done, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think that I have a super big problem with hoarding books. I have less than 200 books in general, and I have less than 50 on this cart. I don't know the exact number, it's somewhere around there. So I mean, I think that's pretty good. I do plan on getting more books because that's just what I do. And I do have like a whole stack sitting right next to me that I just bought during Indie Bookstore Day. Might do a haul and talk about all of those books. So stay tuned for that. That is all that I have for you. Thank you so much for staying to the end if you did. Comment the blue heart emoji if you stayed till the end so I know who the real ones are. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next one.